When you grow up with 5 siblings, you get very quickly used to being asked, what's it like? What's it like growing up with so many people in the same house? And for a long part of my life as an adult, I could tell you what it was like when I was younger, when all of us were in the same house together. There are a few anecdotes that I think illustrate the dynamic that our family had. I asked my mom to help me remember some of these before today. The first is the time my older sister and I tried to kill my younger brother. We had the Rockenbach trucks where you could, use remote controls and move the red and blue balls around the construction site. We were going off-grid, and we were throwing the red and blue balls into his mouth from across the room, and one of us scored right into his trachea. He's gagging. My mom claims there were no adults present, and somehow we saved his life. So on that day, one of us did try to kill him, and one of us rescued him from certain death. Another example of us, instead of turning against each other, banding together, happened on a trip early on in my high school days. My dad loves to be around the family. He's here tonight, so I'm going to use PG language. He's a little bit intense in travel dad mode, and we're all a little bit scared of him. So on this trip to Colorado, we were all running late to get to dinner from the resort we were staying at. We're waiting out on the side of the road, waiting for a bus. Snow is falling. He's standing, because you're going to be the first one on the bus if you're standing on the edge of the curb. So he's standing at the edge of the curb, and we're all a little ways back from him with his back to us. And the same brother we tried to kill has 2 handfuls of snow, and he's just standing gazing at it. My older sister flips the snow into his face. So we all ah! My dad turns around and he's in travel dad mode. Who did that? And we all look at each other. The 4 of us are in the range of 9 to 13. The younger 2 are much younger. And we know in that moment that nobody's going to rat on anyone. So the brother who has a face of snow looks at my dad and he says, I did it to myself. And I didn't think that I'd get to add many more memories of the 6 of us all together, because we are across a 12-year age gap between the 6 of us, and we're now spread across 4 different states most of the time. But then the pandemic happened, and in 2020, we had the ability to all join back together under the same house that we were all raised in for the months of May and June. That was able to happen because my older sister was running away from the fires in California. The brother directly underneath of me was kicked off of the PCT after 1 week of hiking it. The next brother down was just out of college and getting ready to move, but then the pandemic happened and he was kind of in limbo. I was doing law school virtually, and my 2 younger sisters were both in high school at the time here. So we were all back in the same house, and the brother who was kicked off of the PCT had prepared for all of these boxes to be sent to him along the way. And in each of those boxes, there was some variety, but without fail, every box had a jumbo jar of peanut butter and a gallon bag of dehydrated beans and quinoa. So when he was kicked off the PCT, now we had all of these gallon bags of dehydrated beans and quinoa. So it became the challenge of the pandemic. Everybody had to cook one night out of the week, and we would have a huge Whole Foods order deliver, and everybody had to do something except for Sophie. We don't know why she got to be excused from it. But one person every week had to try to incorporate the dehydrated beans and quinoa into their meal. It was a challenge. There aren't that many ways that you can use chili spice dehydrated beans and quinoa. So we had it as enchiladas. We had it as Mexican casserole, tacos, taco salad, fajitas. And then you kind of run out of options. So we did end up repeating those meals. They weren't very good. But when I look back on those 2 months that we were all in the same house, I have nothing but fond memories. We had the weekly pyramid ranking of members of the household. The dogs were always on top. The boys were always at the bottom. We also all learned how to play pickleball, and now my sister and her husband are ranked on the West Coast for pickleball players. And more than anything, I'm very grateful that I now do know what it's like to have so many siblings as an adult. And although I don't know any different, I also wouldn't have it any other way.